Hey everyone, it's Gary here, and today I just want to run you through my process about how I do video, how I take video, how I process the video, and how I manage the video. So I get these questions all the time, and some of this stuff might be basic for you, but maybe you'll pick up something that you didn't know before, or maybe just a simple time-saving tip. I've been doing this a long time, and I've got this thing refined down pretty darn well. Now, the first thing people always ask me is, what kind of camera do you use? And this is a loaded question because you can use a lot of different cameras. You can use your iPhone, you can use your iPad, you can do all sorts of things to get the original video, all right? But what I like to do is I like this camera. This is called a Canon HG30. And this is you can see a large lensed camera. It has a large CMOS. It's actually a camera they call a prosumer. So it has the guts of a professional camera at the price point of a consumer camera. So prosumer camera. I think it's up to like maybe a G40 now, I think. I don't think you can buy this one anymore. But this is a really important point. This camera cost a lot of money. It was like maybe $1,200, which, you know, to me, I'm not a professional, so that's a lot of money. I mean, I'm not a professional videographer, right? I don't do weddings. I don't do video as my profession. I use it as part of it. So maybe you don't want to spend that kind of money. But what I want to point out is that this camera is already outdated. It might be a G40, it might be a G50, maybe a G60, I don't even know. But the thing is, this camera when I bought it was a very high-end camera. It cost about $1,200, but I haven't replaced it since. And until this thing gets lost, stolen, dropped, kicked, whatever, I'm not going to replace it because the video quality is so high. If you invest in a great camera today, you will not need to buy another camera for the life of your athlete. The other camera I've used is an SLR. I've got a Canon 7D. It's a 70D. It gets a little hard to pronounce because they also have a 7D. And one's a full frame, one's not a full frame. So one is at a different price point. So it's a 70D. And again, I think the camera doesn't exist anymore. I think they're up, I know they're at least at an 80, but I think they're at a 90. That's another option. But there's reasons why you want to do this type of camera if you are going on a high tripod, because the SLR won't work on a tall tripod. It will work if you keep it on a short tripod down low and right in front of you where you can turn it on off and turn it on very easily. So those are different options you can have. If you have only, let's say, the budget for one camera and you're going to be on a low tripod, if you're not going to get a tall tripod, which frankly once you get a flavor for the tall tripod you'll never go back, because it's so much better. But if you are never going to put it on a tall tripod, if you're going to shoot from a stadium, if you're like, let's say high school soccer, for example, you're always in a stadium, then fine, get the SLR because it's more versatile. You can do more things with it. You can swap lenses out. You can take pictures as well as taking video. This one you can take pictures, but it's not suited for pictures. It's really a dedicated video camera, and it's a great camera. If you are going to go up on a tripod, then definitely get this camera. Don't try to put that other camera on. You're going to disappoint yourself because you're going to find that after 20 minutes, it's a weird law, but after 20 minutes, that camera will shut off automatically unless you start it, stop it, start it, stop it. And when it's up on a tall tripod, you can kind of lose track of where you are. When I put this camera up on a tall tripod, I could turn it off and turn it on like I do when it's right in front of me, but then you run the risk of getting out of sequence, and next thing you know, it's off when you think it's on when you think it's off, and you're picking up all the dead time, but you're not recording the good stuff. So when I put this up on a tall tripod, I just leave it there. I turn it on, I leave it on, and that's the end of it. So one of the disadvantages, of course, to doing that is that when you get your video, you have a bunch of junk in there. You know, you've got a lot of dead time. You've got halftime. I just leave it on through halftime. I don't touch it. I make sure it's on. I make sure it's recording, and I just let it go. And then what I do is I'll come in. I actually dump all my video into iMovie, and I do this for two reasons. So when I am putting this camera up on a tall tripod, I'm going to dump it into iMovie because I want to at least chop off the beginning where I start it, 5 minutes before the game. I don't need to watch 5 minutes of nothing. And then I chop out the halftime because that's another 10 minutes, sometimes 15. You don't need that. So chop that out, and then I chop off the end because you're going to run it to the end, and then it takes time. You got to shut it off, bring it all down, whatever. But it's really the beginning and the halftime that I don't want. I don't bother chopping out the dead time. I don't chop out when the ball's out of bounds. It's just you don't need to, because you can do that in Soccer Pro just as easily as running it through iMovie or whatever other free type of movie editor you're using. But you'll also notice on the screen, you'll see down here I have all these different segments. And you'll notice that I'm indoor. So a couple important things here. One, I'm indoor, and you can see back here on the stand, back there on the screen, that I'm up high. So I'm not using a tall tripod. I have this tripod right in front of me. And then I am turning the camera off and turning it on, or recording, not recording. I don't actually turn it off. So I record, stop, record, stop, record. And even though this is just a 50-minute game, you can see how many little pieces of video I have. And I've chopped out about 10 minutes or so. I think this was a 50 or 55-minute game. 50-minute game. So it was a 50-minute game. I got it down to 40 minutes because the rest of it was, ball going out of bounds and that sort of thing. So I just stop it and start it, and I shorten my video that way. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to load all this junk into Soccer Pro, because then I have to manage all these extra videos inside my Soccer Pro account. I kind of like to leave that clean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to render this as one video. Then I'm actually going to throw all these pieces away, because I'm just going to keep my one MP4 video on my hard drive, my backup hard drive, and then I'll load the other one into Soccer Pro, and I'll just have one video to deal with in there. So it just keeps things a lot cleaner. Can you put 2, 3, 5 segments in for a game? Of course you can. And then inside of Soccer Pro, you can load 2 or 3 segments at a time into the editor in there. This is just the way I do it, because to me it's faster, it's easier to get rid of all this junk before I do my upload. I don't have to keep it organized that way, because it's already coming out of my camera right into iMovie, already organized. I don't have to really think about too much. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this video, I'm just going to share it. I'm going to put it into a file. And you see this is a big video. It's 6.15 gig. This is a high-end camera. It's taking HD video. It's not 4K. 60 frames per second. I want you to make sure that your camera, whatever one you buy, has 60 frames per second. Otherwise, you won't catch the action. Don't worry about 4K. You don't need it. If the camera shoots at 4K at 30 frames per second, but shoots at 1080p at 60 frames per second, then that's a good camera. Go ahead and get that 4K camera. But if it's a 4K camera that only shoots at 30 frames per second, you won't be happy. This is not a 4K camera. It's a phenomenal camera. The images come out great, and you don't need 4K. Okay. Now the other thing I want you to notice, and I skipped over this, is the lens size. You notice how this is a very large lens. There's 2 things that really matter. One is going to be your lens size, because that's pulling the light in, your light source. That's why an iPhone doesn't work as well when you get in poor light conditions, because it's got a teeny tiny little camera lens. The second is that it has a very large CMOS image processor. So those are 2 important factors when you're looking at a camera. One, how big the lens is, how big the surface area is. And then 2, does it have a mechanical zoom versus digital zoom? And 3, does it have a large CMOS image processor? So those things all matter, and you have to pay attention to those. Don't get fooled by some of the specs. You'll get some of these low-end cameras that will tell you they've got a 60x zoom, but it's all digital zoom. Well, those don't count, okay? What you really want to look at is the mechanical zoom, and the mechanical zoom is when you zoom, there's the change in the lens. And I've done videos on this before, so I'm not going to get too deep into this. All I'm going to tell you is better cameras cost more. This is a case where you get what you pay for. So it's not one of those things where it's all hype. Don't watch the specs. The specs are hype. The dollars aren't, all right? When you go to buy your camera, go to Best Buy, get the 18-month financing, 0%, stretch your budget, look at it at a monthly cost, and then know that unless you break the camera, unless you drop it off your tripod, unless you kick it down the road, you're not going to buy another camera. Spend the money on a good camera and you'll be happy forever. Okay? And the reason I'm bringing this up is when you get inside, when you get into night games, you have to have a camera that is extremely good at picking up light, because otherwise it loses so much detail. You get a lot grainier, it's a lot fuzzier. And even this image, even with my good high-end camera, you think the lighting is good, but it's not. And this game, you'll see, is more grainy than when I'm doing an outdoor type of video. So let me just get this done. I'm going to take this, I'm just going to render it into one video. Once I get it into one video, then I'm going to upload into Soccer Pro, and then I'm going to start doing my coaching analysis of this video. So I'm just going to save this. Oops, I got caught talking. I'll have to go find that then, see where I put it. So, all right, this is Gary. I'm going to come back in a little bit after this thing processes through iMovie and then show you how I do the upload. And after that, I'll show you how I start doing the coaching analysis of this game. Hey, it's Gary. I'm back, and the video is now processed, but there's a couple things that I want to go over. Because before we start uploading this video, there's still a few things that you have to do the right way so you don't run into trouble. Now, number one, keep in mind these are big, giant videos. I mean, this one's 6.5 gig, and it's only half a game, right? It's only 40 minutes long. If you were uploading a full game, now you're talking 10, 12, 14 gig type of file sizes. Two, when you are uploading a video, it is 100% your upload speed. And remember, your download speed might be very quick, like I have 1 gig speed, 1 gig per second, but my upload speed is still only maybe 40 or 50 meg. All right, so your upload speed is always slower. What this means is it's going to take a long time for you to get this video uploaded, and it's always dependent on your internet speed, because think about your computer being is always much faster than the internet, and the servers we have are always much faster than your computer. So the gating item is going to be your website, your internet speed. So make sure you are at a place where you have good internet and it won't be distracted, won't be disturbed, any of those things. I usually will upload a video and do it at night and then go to bed. All right. In this case, I'm going to upload a video. I'm going to go to Soccer Labs and do our soccer training. But there's still something else you have to do. You have to make sure your computer doesn't go to sleep. So you don't want your computer disturbed. You have to have good internet connections, and you don't want your computer going to sleep. I have a program for the Mac, because even though you can go into the power settings and tell it not to go to sleep, I don't know if the newest version has fixed it, but I can tell you in the past it just didn't work, and the thing would go to sleep. It would drive me crazy. I'd get halfway through and then my video wouldn't be uploaded. So there's this free program, it's called Caffeine, and this is in our upload notes too, so you don't have to write this down. It's in our upload notes. What I want to do is I want to keep my computer live for 5 hours. Could be less than that, but again, I want to make sure it gets uploaded. I don't want it falling 10 minutes short. All right. Now, I've got my computer set so it won't go to sleep. All I have to do is come into Soccer Pro. I'm going to log in and come to Upload Video. I'm going to name it. Oops. There we go. I can select a category. In this case, I'm going to put it into my Soccer Labs customers because they are a Soccer Labs customer. I can put in a thumbnail if I want, but in this case I don't want to. Don't need them. Because I like viewing it in list view. You can view the videos in list view or thumbnail view, but because I have so many videos, I usually just keep it in list view. For me, it's more convenient. Here are the tips I told you about. If you're not sure how to keep your computer awake, we have it all documented right here for you. Okay, we'll go to the next step. And now I'm just going to add my video. Again, I can add 1 video, 2 videos, 10 videos in here. It really doesn't matter, but this is the way I like to do it. It just works better. So Soccer Labs customers, Kenosha Aces. And I could drag and drop that in here as well, but either way works, okay? I'm sure you're used to uploading videos, uploading files, so this is a very standard format. And now I'm just going to start my upload. Now the key is, go away, okay? Start your upload and go somewhere. Just leave this page open. You cannot go to a different page. You can go to a different section of your computer, but you can't get out of Chrome. And you should use Chrome. Chrome's the best for Soccer Pro. The best thing though is just upload and go to bed, upload and go away, upload and just leave the thing, because I've done it so many times where I've been working on one other section of the computer, I come back, I forget that I'm uploading a video, next thing you know I'm clicking around, I click off the page and there goes my upload. All right, so simplest way, do it before bed, do it before you go to work, do it before something, just start it, keep your computer awake and go away. All right, so I'm going to let this upload. There's no reason that we should sit here and do anything else other than say bye, and then I'll come back as soon as this is uploaded, and then we'll go on to the next step. All right, I will see you in the next part of the video. Bye now. All right, now I'm back. We've got the video uploaded, and you can see that the status is complete with this green check mark, and you can also see that we've compressed the size. So when you look at your file and you see that you only get 10 gig, well, we've taken this file and we've shrunk it from, I think, 6 gig down to 1.386 gig. Yeah, 1.386 gig. So you get a lot more space than you would believe, all right? So 10 gig is not just one game, it's going to be 2, 3 full-size games at a very high definition type recording, or in this case, half a game, 1.38. Now, to get started putting the coaching tips in and all the tagging, all you have to do is put it in the editor. So we'll come in here, click on the blue button, go to editor. It opens up a new tab and we'll load this video. You should always use Chrome when you're doing this. The other programs will work. I mean, the other browsers will work, but Chrome works the best. So whenever you're doing something that is data intensive, always use Chrome. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that we will auto-save this project continuously. I think it's every 5 or 10 seconds. So even if you lose your internet connection, if something breaks bad, the most you're ever going to lose is 10, I think 5 seconds, 10 seconds, no more than 30. I don't remember exactly what that number is, but it's not very long. And now I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, get it to where I want it. And oh, you know what I want to do? I want to take you back because we also have hot buttons that make it easier to do these things. And inside the help section, we have a quick reference guide for your hot buttons. And here you have the home team select, dead time select, opposing team fast forward, start stop, pass connected, and lost. So I like using the fast forward a lot. In fact, I will use this at one setting because it takes the video and moves it along quicker, but not so quick that I can't watch the action. So it all depends what I'm doing, but for the most part, I like to go fast forward at the first setting. The more you press the fast forward button, the faster it will go. So I just press it one time and it gives me just a little more speed. Not so much that I can't see the detail, but enough that I get through my task quicker. All right, let's go back to the editor. I'll close out of this and come back in here. And now I'm going to press my space bar, or you can click on the play button, either one. I just find the space bar shortcut or hotkey easier. And now I'll speed it up. And I'll get through to my action. So for the sake of brevity, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through, I'm going to put in my coach's tips. I'm going to record this, but I'm not going to force you to watch the whole process. I'm going to record it and then start and stop where I stop the video and put some action in. All right, I'll see you at the first coach's tip. Now previously I said I was going to record all the coach's tips that I put in, but the reality is that it was taking too long for me to do that. So I just wanted to put the coach's tips in, and then I'll just run you through a couple of them so you can see what I've done. The other thing I want you to notice is that I have not tagged anything. All of these things are optional. You can put in tags if you want to put in tags, and the tags work as very effective filters for playback. So in other words, if I wanted to see all my shots on goal, I could just put a shot on goal tag and I could filter when I do the playback and watch it that way. That's not the purpose of what I was doing for this video, so I didn't bother tagging, I didn't do time of possession, I didn't do any of the statistical analysis you may do for a match. In this case, I just wanted to look at a knowledge transfer. You know, what are the guys doing well? What do I think they can do better? and I just put the coach's tips in. For me, the coach's tips are always the most important thing. So if I'm only going to do one thing, I'm going to focus on the knowledge transfer. I'm going to focus on the coach's tips always. Okay, statistics are the what, coach's tips are the why. And for me, the why is so much more important than the what. Not saying that we don't provide it, because we do. And statistics always do catch up to a team or a person or anything. But again, the purpose of this video was just for me to do a knowledge transfer, just to put in the coach's tips, and that's all I've done. So when you want to come back and look at your coach's tips, all you have to do is click on them. And you see how it highlights and your coach's tip will appear. When I'm playing this video back though, it's not going to stop at the coach's tip. It's just going to go right through it as though it doesn't exist. When you play this game back, or when your players play this game back after it's been rendered, the video will stop at every one of these coach's tips. This information will appear, and they will have to click the play button to start the video again. There is no autoplay on this like there is with the highlight focus animation, because we don't know how much information you're going to put in. And realistically, when a person is looking at this, how long is it going to take them to read this? And then how long is it going to take them to look around at the situation? Those things are impossible to know, so we don't try to know them. We just allow them to look at it as long as they want, and then just click the play button when they're done. Okay? But again, it doesn't work like that in the editor. That's frankly a little annoying when you are doing coach's tips and putting in all these other statistics. You just want to let the video go and keep applying tags or coach's tips as you go along. Let's go to the second coach's tip. So for me personally, I like to try to highlight some good things as well as things they need to improve. It's a little easier to beat people up all the time. But let's face it, if you compliment someone on something, you will get more of that. If you tell someone not to do something, well, you'll get less of it. So you want to get more of the good stuff and less of the bad stuff. And really, if they want to beat me up, they can beat me up for this typo. It's supposed to be great. I put in geet. I'm not sure what that means, but they'll get the point. I think everyone will get the point, and that's okay. Okay, this gives us a great opportunity to give them recognition of where they had opportunity, where they need to pull the defenders to them, open up lanes, open up space. And I'm not a big fan of punting. I mean, punting's okay, but to me it's a last resort. This is something you'll see a lot where the players get into pressure. They play right back into pressure instead of looking for an outlet pass out of pressure to make their lives easier and to play a higher percentage soccer. Same thing. Here they're going forward into a crowd all the time. These are things that some of these players won't recognize just the way they televise where they're passing. And actually, I'm going to play this because I think when you watch this, you'll see how much this player is televising his pass, and the opponent sees it right away. Yeah, you saw that. I mean, everyone could see that coming, but it's the way the guy's playing the ball. I mean, he's turning his hips, he's televising what he's doing. It's just so obvious. Everyone's going to jump that pass. But does he see it? Probably not. That's why you have to show these people on video so they actually see it to believe it. Okay, again, trying to throw in some compliments. This was great hustle. The reason this pass was intercepted was because of the hustle, not because of the pass interception, but because actually this guy laying on the ground here was the one that made the awesome run to make that happen. So actually we'll play that again just so you can see it. So you can see how far he's running and putting a lot of work into making that pass a forced pass instead of a good pass. So here again, when people are playing into pressure all the time, it just makes their life harder. You want to play a high percentage game versus a low percentage game. Playing the ball into pressure is always going to be lower percentage than playing into open space. I mean, it's a basic concept. But when you look back and you say, oh my God, look at how much open space there was, this type of highlighter is a great tool to show people just what they're missing and what they're playing into versus playing into the easy space. I'll just jump ahead a little here. I have no idea what's in here, but here again, just throw-ins, throwing into pressure versus taking the easy throw, switching the point of attack, and again, playing high percentage soccer. Here, this is different. In this case, I did not put in any text, right? So, I mean, frankly, I'm not even sure what I'm saying here, but there's a circle and an arrow. But here's the key right here. See this coach's audio? I don't have to type anything. I never have to type. If I don't want to type, all I have to do is put my audio in. So when I put in my coach's tip, you see this microphone here? All I have to do is talk into my microphone, and it will record here. Now, when this coach's tip pops up on their screen, they'll see whatever I've telestrated, and they will be able to hear my voice. And a lot of times I will do this when I have something more complex. If I want to explain something in greater detail, I'll put in coach's audio. Sometimes I will type. It really is just whatever the situation calls for. And then you also have to think about where these kids are watching these games. They will often watch them on their phone. Are they in a quiet environment where they can hear the coach's audio? So these are things that you want to kind of take into account. But in this case, I know what I was doing now. When I look at this, I can see this guy. This is something I don't like, where a player gets himself into a defensive position I call no man's land, where he's halfway between the guy that's going to cross. He's not covering here. I'd rather see him double team right here, right away, or to fall back and cover the cross. But when they stand here, there's a huge tendency for the ball just to go over their head, and they just stand there and watch it while somebody in front of the goal is actually getting up there and making a play. So my preference is always move forward and double team to stop the cross from happening, or drop back into the danger zone and stop the shot from happening. But standing here to me is a useless defensive position. And this was just a bad offside call. They had a great run, but the ref really blew this one. Again, try to keep things positive a little bit. I'm skipping ahead here quite a bit. Oh, this one. This is my banned kick. So at our Soccer Labs Technical Training Center, there's a style of kick that I absolutely hate. And I talk to these guys all the time about not using it. And sure enough, they'll still use it in the game. And it always fails, which is why I hate it. I mean, it works sometimes, and I actually don't even like when it works because it encourages them to do it more. But it's a terrible kick, often fails, and you're so much better off using the correct foot, which is usually their weak foot, rather than trying to do that sloppy outside of the foot pooch pass with the strong foot. Here again, we want to play the numbers. We don't want to play into pressure. We want to play where there is less pressure. So when you look at how the defense is all stacked up on this side versus how many of our players are standing there wide open with nothing but green space on the other side, these are the things they have to recognize and play a higher percentage game so that more good things happen in their favor. And what's the last thing here? Yeah, so this is the same thing, no man's land. So this is what I was describing in the coach's audio, and this is just another example where this guy's in no man's land. This guy is coming up and just missed the shot. In fact, I'll play it so you can see what I mean. This always happens. The guy crossing isn't going to care about that guy standing there, and the guy in front of the net is not going to care about that guy. He's just standing there in no man's land, not defending anything other than standing there watching, taking up space, and waiting for the ball to go over his head and give someone else a chance to shoot. Oh. So that's it. You can see how I've taken different parts of the game, put in different types of coaching tips. Every team is going to be different. You don't need to put in a coach's tip for everything. There's going to be a certain theme you work on. Maybe you're working on defense. Maybe you're working on offense. Maybe you want to do the whole game. But you can really pick and choose what you want to promote, what you want to push. Me personally, I don't try to nitpick every single thing in a game, because if you put too much into the game, then it becomes meaningless, right? When you flood people with too much information, it's as bad as giving them no information. So I like to pick and choose. I like to mix in some strategic things that they can do, and then just try to give them ways to win more games by making them smarter players. All right, I hope this helps you understand how to video the game, how to get the game going, how to put the coach's tips in, some of the methodology I use. And again, I didn't put any of these tags in, but you do things the way you want for the games you choose, and some games are going to be more important, some things are going to be more important. Sometimes you need to know what your time of possession is. Sometimes you need to show your team that they're losing more passes than they're connecting. All those statistics catch up to people, they catch up to teams, so they are important. It's just a matter of what you want to show your team at what point in time. All right, there's always a limited amount of time everyone has. I understand that. I have a limited amount of time. That's why I focused on just the coach's tips for this video. Again, this is Gary with Soccer Pro, hoping you win more games, have more fun, make smarter players. Have a great day now. Bye.